during the summer vacation. My boyfriend and I went rafting. Midway, the raft capsized and we all fell into the water. Only my boyfriend and his friend on the boat knew how to swim. My boyfriend saved me and his friend rescued another girl. Unfortunately, the rest of the people drowned. Not long after we returned, we received the good news of his friend's wedding. The girl he saved was a wealthy beauty, and to repay his life-saving kindness, she married him with a generous dowry despite his lower status. His boyfriend had just been laid off and was anxious about loan repayments. Seeing his friend driving luxury cars and living in a mansion, he went to borrow money. Unexpectedly, after being rejected, he flew into a rage and stabbed his friend to death. I witnessed this scene and was about to call 120 when he, with bloodshot eyes, rushed over, grabbed me, and crashed into an oncoming truck. If I hadn't saved you, I'd be the one enjoying the spotlight, and you deserve to die. We were both killed on the spot. Opening my eyes, I was back to the day of drifting on the raft. My boyfriend was staring intently at a beautiful girl. I sneered. Since he wanted to play the hero and save the beauty so much, then let him have his way. I just hope he knows the girl's secret and can still laugh about it. The sound of noisy laughter and trickling water slowly drifted over. I blinked dazedly. My boyfriend, Hien, was pounding his head, looking around in astonishment. What? Dazed by the splash, his good buddy said as he scooped a ladle of water and splashed it hard onto Hien's face. Hien jolted, making everyone on the raft burst into laughter. Only then did I realize that the surroundings seemed familiar. Hien seemed stunned, staring blankly at the girl across from him in a daze. The girl's seaweed-like long hair was dotted with droplets of water, and the thin gauze on her body, accidentally splashed by Song-Chi moments ago, half revealed her flesh-colored undergarments, both seductive and pitiful. Hien quickly pulled out a tissue and offered it to her in a flattering manner. Song-Chi remarked sarcastically, "What's this? Trying to have your cake and eat it, too." Hien stared at me for a few seconds, found nothing unusual, then scooped up water and splashed it back fiercely. The two older women on the raft were affected and fought back as well. The raft was instantly filled with screams. In the previous life, Hien splashed the hardest, not caring about anything. At this moment, he deliberately avoided the girl, showing great tenderness and care. Needless to say, he had also been reborn. The events of his previous life rushed through his mind like a roller coaster. The water was rushing fiercely. The raft capsized, and we were in grave danger. Hien and Song-Chi can swim. Hien pulled me to the shore. Song-Chi rescued the girl closest to him. The other two older women on the raft unfortunately drowned. I never expected that girl to be a wealthy beauty who, out of gratitude for saving her life, married Song-Chi with $1 million dowry. When Hien received the invitation, he offered his blessings on the surface, but inexplicably took his anger out on me afterward. I thought he was just having a tough time at work and didn't pay much attention to it. Later, when loan collectors started harassing us daily, he saw Song-Chi driving luxury cars and living in mansions. So, he went to borrow money from him. I never expected to be scolded harshly by Song-Chi, and in a fit of rage, Hien stabbed Song-Chi to death. I arrived right after, witnessing the gruesome scene. Terrified, I was about to dial 120 when Hien, with bloodshot eyes, grabbed me and rushed toward a speeding large truck. Now his roar still echoes in my ears. If I hadn't saved you first, I'd be the one enjoying the glory. You deserve to die. Let's all just perish together. The despair of near death and the agony of internal organs being torn apart still lingered. You want a hero to save the beauty and live happily ever after, right? Fine, I'll grant your wish. At the river's bend, the current is swift, making it difficult to stop the boat. Hien wants to be a hero, but I have no desire to experience the taste of choking on water again. There are also two innocent women on the boat, and I must save them as well. I leaned forward, looked into the distance, and called out to stop them. Let's stop playing for now. The current up ahead seems pretty strong and dangerous. We should probably call it a day. Unexpectedly, The sunglasses sister was completely soaked, but still having a great time. She was clearly unhappy. If you're scared, why are you even doing rafting? Can't you just stay home where it's safe? Another woman with tattooed eyebrows took my hand. My colleague has a sharp tongue. Don't mind her, and don't be afraid. So many people go rafting every day. Nothing will happen. The woman with sunglasses pulled her away. Don't waste your breath on her. Let's just enjoy ourselves. Sister, your boyfriend has a strong physique, so he must know how to swim. Even if you don't trust me, you should trust him. Sun Shang, the beautiful and wealthy girl, smiled sweetly, her eyes secretly glancing at Hien. Hien was praised by the beauty and grinned, showing his big front teeth. Do I trust him? I believe even my fingernails could help me scratch my back. Several people started splashing water at each other even more enthusiastically. I tried to say a few more words, but they all pretended not to hear. If they wouldn't listen to advice, I was definitely getting off the boat, having no other choice. I clutched my stomach and looked aggrieved. Maybe it's because my period just ended and the water is a bit cold. My stomach hurts a little. Could we stop the boat and let me get off? The woman in sunglasses impatiently tapped the inflatable raft and said, Stop, stop. First, you talk about bad luck, and now you're feeling unwell. Don't die on the boat and blame us. We're all young, and the other girl is fine. Why is your partner so fussy? Not only did Hien not speak up for me, but his face was also full of disgust. He struggled to stop the rubber raft, his tone displeased. Get off, get off, get off. What a buzzkill. I quickly climbed out of the boat, but the older sister with the tattooed eyebrows called out to me, Wait a minute. The mountain path is rugged. It's quite dangerous for a young girl like you to walk alone. I'm hungry, too. So, let's go eat together. You guys should head down soon to have lunch. Song-chi also got up and followed. It's not easy to catch a taxi going downhill. Let me give you both a ride. Song-chi finished speaking and gave Hien a meaningful look. Hien wore a troubled expression. The big sister in sunglasses pulled Hien aside with a look of disdain. Brother, let them go their way. We'll have our own fun. She leaned over and whispered in Hien's ear. Sis has been through this before. Let me tell you, you can't spoil a woman like this. Can't let her get away with everything, or you'll regret it after marriage. Sun Shangshang also looked at Hien with a disappointed expression. Although I want to have fun, too, it's not worth making you argue and upset with sister. How about we go downstairs? As well. She said so, but her bottom didn't move an inch. Seeing that Hien was about to get angry, I quickly waved my hand. No, no, no. The three of us will go eat, and the three of you can have fun together. Before leaving, I specifically asked Sister Lu to let the person with sunglasses wear the life jacket. Hien also pretended to give a few instructions, then rode the inflatable raft away with the two of them. The three of us found a small restaurant at the foot of the mountain. As soon as we entered, it started raining heavily outside, and the world beyond the window became blurred. The older sister frowned. The signal is already weak in the mountains, and after the rain, there's absolutely no signal. I hope nothing's happened to them. The woman in sunglasses is Lu Jia's colleague. They're on a business trip and stopped by to relax for a bit. Song-chi pushed his food around indifferently. Maybe they found a place to take shelter from the rain. Beside S, there's rescue coming. Right, but what if the rescue can't arrive in time during this heavy rain? Song-chi glanced at me and comforted me. Anyway, Hien can swim, so he won't die. But those two girls are uncertain. If you're really worried, we've just finished eating. Let's go back and check on them. I nodded, but I secretly hope he dies. When we went out, the rain had almost stopped. We had just reached the intersection when a group of people carrying several stretchers walked down the mountain. Hien was supporting the stretcher at the front. On it was Sun Shangshang, the tall one. She was wrapped in Hien's coat, her face deathly pale, continuously spitting out water, and trembling all over. It was unclear whether she was shivering from the cold or from fright. On the stretcher behind them lay the woman with the sunglasses. The lenses of the sunglasses were shattered, and the remaining frames hung from a necklace. Her face was covered in blood, and no one knew whether she was alive or dead. Sister Lu was terrified, collapsing directly onto the ground. Medical personnel comforted her. Relax. She's not dead. Your colleague is lucky to be alive. She was washed ashore just with a cheekbone injury, facing everyone's questioning. He Yen shifted all the blame onto me. Fu Yingying, if you hadn't insisted on getting off the ship and delayed our time, how could this accident have happened? Don't you feel guilty? I feel guilty. My ass. I hadn't spoken yet when Song Chi snorted coldly. Are you even conscience-stricken saying that? You were in a bad mood and asked us to come keep you company. You knew Ying is afraid of water, yet you insisted on going rafting. She warned you it was dangerous, but you blamed her for spoiling the fun. Now you're trying to shift the blame onto her, shirking your own responsibility and blaming others. How dare you? He was speechless and couldn't fight back. His face turned bright red, and finally he raised his hand, stammering, "You're my buddy, yet you're taking her side like this. Are you two involved?" His words drew everyone's attention. Even the paramedics started walking slower. The crowd buzzed with discussion. Her boyfriend nearly drowned, and she just stood there without even showing concern. A pair of scumbags still have the nerve to blame the brave person who stepped in to help. What has the world come to? Sun Shangshang had tears in her eyes and weakly tugged at Hyan's sleeve. Don't argue with sister anymore. It's all my fault for not knowing how to row a boat or swim. Seeing everyone siding with her and Sun Shangshang acting as if she couldn't live without him, Hyan, after much thought, waved his hand. I won't waste any more words with you. Fu Yinginge, let's break up. I was wrong about you all, despite the rumors drowning us both. He angrily left that sentence behind and got into the ambulance. Seeing everyone still chattering incessantly, Hyan pulled out his phone and glared at them. Believe it or not, I'll sue you for defamation. The crowd grumbled and gradually dispersed. Sister Lu went to the hospital, and I returned to the hotel with Song Chi. We remained silent the whole way back. He's not worth it for you. Didn't you see how Hyan couldn't take his eyes off her earlier? He even shielded her when the water was splashed. Yen, I won't hide it from you. When Hyan first started seeing you, he was still involved with another woman. Don't blame me for not warning you. After all, we're good buddies. I couldn't bring myself to say anything. Then why are you saying it now? Mainly because he went too far. I really couldn't stand it anymore. Song Chi kept rambling on about Hyan's little-known scandals. I stopped in my tracks. I'll break up with him. You're giving up that quickly. I lifted my face and spoke word by word. Didn't you give up hope when he stabbed you? One knife after another. Song Chi was stunned, dodging my gaze and stammering. What are you talking about? Are you as frightened as Sister Lu? Stop pretending. Song Chi, I know you've been reborn, too. You wouldn't have helped me like this before. The day you were stabbed to death by him, I was also killed by him. In other words, we're both on the same rope. Song Chi tightly closed his lips. He lit a cigarette. Even if he killed me, how could he have the heart to do it to you after all you've done for him? That son of a Song Chi was filled with indignation. At that moment, Chi Yen suddenly sent a video. As soon as it connected, he started cursing furiously, misunderstanding them. Those two scoundrels are still together now. I must have been blind. He kept cursing while glancing to the side. Needless to say, Sun Shangshang was beside him. The phone was hung up, and I found Song Chi seemed unaffected, which made me a bit curious. You clearly hate him, too. So, why did you let him have the chance to save Bai Fume? Chance. Song Chi let out a cold laugh. The day he came to me for money, I had just returned from the hospital, feeling restless and planning to transfer the ownership of my car and house. I didn't even want to live anymore, and he still called me ungrateful. Who else should I curse if not him? Didn't want to live anymore. He exhaled a puff of smoke, his voice drifting over faintly. I'm infected with AIDS. Sun Shangshang gave it to me. She's deliberately taking revenge on society. Actually, I've vaguely known that Sun Shangshang has some serious illness. Forgot to mention, I'm a psychological counselor in my previous life. I provided psychological counseling to a patient. He frankly admitted that he had been deceived by his girlfriend, who looked pure on the outside, contracted a sexually transmitted disease, and fell into depression with suicidal thoughts. He underwent counseling with me for over a year before gradually regaining confidence to keep living. A few days before Song Chi's engagement, Hien was annoyed by debt collectors, seeing that Song Chi's social media was full of luxury homes and expensive cars. He called to borrow money. The phone was directly hung up by Song Chi. This is what happens when you start living a good life. You just stop being human. No way. I have to go ask him. Is this what it means to rise to fame and fortune and then abandon your buddies? I couldn't stop the impulsive Hien, so I just let him go. After all, Song Chi had indeed been contacting him less during that period, and it was unclear what kind of rift had developed between them. It's just that I had a bad feeling all day at work that day, while idly scrolling through my social media feed. I was startled by someone behind me. It was that previous patient. He had come to present me with a banner of appreciation. He shakily pointed at the wedding photo of Song Chi and the other person. Your friend. It was only then that I realized Sun Shangshang was his pure ex-girlfriend with an STD. So Song Chi's odd behavior was because he discovered this. I was afraid Hien might act impulsively and say something harsh that could hurt their relationship. So I hurried over right away. Then I witnessed a bloody scene. I called 120 to try to save someone, but Hien thought I was calling the police. He didn't even bother to listen to what I had to say, just grabbed me and rushed toward the big truck. Cars sped past before my eyes, instantly pulling me back to reality. So, Sun Shangshang's sexually transmitted disease. It's AIDS. Song Chi extinguished the cigarette, but we're such good buddies. How could I possibly forget him when I'm living the good life? But how could I bring myself to talk about this kind of illness? Yet he would try to kill me. And then there's Sun Shangshang. I kindly saved her life, believed in her sweet words, only to find out in the end that she had deceived me. I hate them both to death. The cigarette, but crushed on the ground, was still smoldering with sparks. I poured the mineral water over it. Everyone has to pay their dues sooner or later. Then let them pay one by one. The rental apartment was paid for with my own money. To be precise, I've been completely investing in Hien. I bought his clothes, and I pay for all the household expenses. We got together because one day I got off work late and was surrounded by some street thugs whistling at me. Hien happened to come out and help me out at that moment. At that moment, I draped him in the halo of a hero. He picked me up and dropped me off every day, and gradually feelings grew between us, and we started living together. In my previous life, when my teacher heard that Hien was idle and aimless, I tolerated him in every way. He shook his head and only said, "Indeed, doctors find it hard to heal themselves. I think I'm human, too. So it's normal to have a vulnerable side." Right, looking back now, it wasn't vulnerability at all. It was sheer blindness. If I hadn't heard Song Chi mention it yesterday, I wouldn't have known that those troublemakers back then were actually Hien's buddies. Just as I finished packing Hien's belongings, I suddenly received a call from the police. MS. Fu, we need to understand what happened yesterday. I wasn't far from Song Chi, so I rode in his car. At the police station, everyone on the raft was present. Hien was sitting next to Sun Shangshang, and beside them was the elder sister wearing sunglasses. The elder sister had gauze wrapped around her face and pointed at me with a bad tone. "It's all your fault for insisting on getting off the boat halfway. Otherwise, would I have been disfigured? My husband wanted to divorce me when he saw my disfigurement. It's all your fault." Seeing her crying so pitifully, I couldn't help but snort with laughter. Could it be that he's wanted to divorce you all along? This reason is just an excuse, and here you are, lecturing others on how to manage their wives. Yet you've managed to get yourself divorced. You shut up. She was so angry she wanted to come at me, but was stopped by the police. "Ms. Sunday, calm down. This is the police station. No one wants this kind of thing to happen. Stop making a scene." She sat down angrily. After finishing the statement, the woman in sunglasses rolled her eyes and glared at me. I smiled and leaned close to her ear. "Cease. If I hadn't gotten off the boat earlier, you'd have drowned by now." She was so angry she started rolling up her sleeves again. But Sister Lu firmly held her back. "The girl is right. The rescuer said Hien saved that girl, and you just happened to be washed ashore when the rain was heaviest. If we hadn't gotten off the boat and you had been swept downstream, Hien wouldn't have had time to save you, and you would have drowned. Sister, Lou widened her eyes and stared straight at me. So that means if we hadn't gotten off the boat, the two boys could only have saved two people, and at least two would have drowned. She took my hand and said, Sister, it was you who saved our lives. Finally, there's someone who understands. She excitedly grabbed the woman in sunglasses. Yes, yes, that life jacket was also something the young lady asked me to make sure you wore before she left. But you just wouldn't put it on. If something happened to you, who would I partner with in the future? The woman with sunglasses finally understood, lowering her head. Sis, I wronged you. I was wrong. What I said on the boat was harsh. Please don't be like me. I don't even bother to argue. After all, they never harmed me. At that moment, Hien and Sun Shangshang passed by us. I quickly called out to stop him. Hien looked somewhat smug, looking down at me. What's wrong? Regretting losing me. Didn't sleep well all night. Did you? Sun Shangshang was dressed exquisitely, with a hint of a smile in her eyes. Sister, brother Hien is so nice. Just coax him a bit. Maybe he'll forgive you. Hien curled his lip. Forgive. I hate it the most when people betray me. What were you thinking when you cheated? How dare he even mention betrayal? But when you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. I rolled my eyes and looked at Song Chi. You're overthinking it. Bring his luggage over. I opened my luggage and dumped all the clothes out. Then, I picked up a pair of scissors and cut one of the garments. What are you doing? What am I doing? Returning your things to you. But since I bought them, I need to handle them my way. Not a single good piece of clothing remained. Only a few tattered and wrinkled ones left. All right, take them away. Hien felt utterly ashamed. Blushing, he kicked his luggage aside. You want to humiliate me, right? I don't want it anymore. Do whatever you want with it. Oh, so much backbone. The clothes on your body were bought by me, too. Take them off. Hien pointed at me, wanting to lash out, but afraid of ruining his image. Sun Shangshang stepped in to defend me. Sister, you look quite pretty, but why are you being so unreasonable? She disdainfully pushed the fragments aside with her high heels. I thought you were cutting something precious. It's all just junk brands. Hien was beaming with happiness. I tilted my head, implying something. Isn't it normal for trash to match trash? Sun Shangshang was furious, too. She made a phone call, and soon after the bodyguards drove the Rolls-Royce in front of us. The bodyguard took down a set of clothes and handed them to her. Sun Shangshang held her head high. Brother Hien, go change in the car. Don't take the sisters' rags, and remember your favorite brands. We'll get them from my mall later. Hien was full of excitement as he carefully got into the Rolls-Royce. A moment later, he threw his clothes out and spat toward me and Song Chi. Damn it, you'll be begging for me someday. The luxury car gradually drove away. Song Chi and I exchanged a knowing smile. After all that, their relationship was bound to heat up quickly. There was nothing more for Song Chi and me to do. After breaking up with Hien, I threw myself into my work. Having died once and gone through being betrayed by my boyfriend, I became increasingly clear-headed when dealing with many patients' issues. After not too long, my reputation grew better and better. Meanwhile, Hien kept posting ambiguous confessions on his social media moments. Meeting you is my destiny. Everything is the best arrangement. I endured a wave of goosebumps as I deleted his contact name, only to discover he had already changed it. The knight guarding the princess, looking more closely. Even the profile pictures have become matching couple avatars. It must be said that the two of them are progressing quite quickly. He is immersed in the joy of being in love, and I am immersed in the joy of watching from the sidelines. In the afternoon, when I was seeing a patient out, I went to look for my supervisor. I found my senior female colleague Lian was also in his office. She is also a counselor, and we usually don't get along. She always thinks my therapeutic methods are inferior to hers. My senior complained. My patient lost her first time, then got involved with a scumbag, was locked in a room by him, and nearly suffocated from coal fumes. She completely broke down, but I've been asking her for a week now, and she hasn't said a single word. Her brother insists on accompanying her to appointments and constantly insults people. I'm completely fed up. Anyway, I can't treat her. Whoever wants to, go ahead and treat her. The teacher looked disappointed. Only the sick need a doctor. If a counselor loses even the most basic patience and emotional stability, it's time for you to take a break. Li Yan was her teacher's favorite student, and hearing these words, she felt wronged and began shedding tears. If you quit, what about your patients? Where is your sense of responsibility? The teacher frowned, but Li Yan was very stubborn, feeling embarrassed. She glanced at me. Didn't you always say Fu Yingying's treatment was effective? I've never agreed with that. Let's accept it. I want to see how she plans to treat a mute. Both of them were stubborn, neither willing to back down. He glanced toward the neighboring room. Inside sat a young woman in her 20s. Her gaze was vacant, her wrist still wrapped in gauze, and she occasionally slapped herself. Silent tears slid down her cheeks, inexplicably evoking a sense of heartache. I broke the silence, asking, "Depression? I think it's even harder to deal with than depression." Li Yan muttered. She handed over the materials, then took them back. "Forget it. I won't push you. You came a year later than me, so you wouldn't be able to do it either." Senior Li Yan was straightforward, but she wasn't a bad person at heart. She was just eager to get the girl to speak up quickly. I didn't want to get involved originally, but there was something about this girl that gave me an inexplicable feeling because what she went through seemed so similar to my own. I seemed to have this impulse feeling that I could cure her. Just because you can't doesn't mean others can't. Let me try. You'll give me a commission from the patient, too, right? Although Li Yan didn't believe me, seeing my determined expression, she hesitated for a moment before nodding. Got it done. Commission is no big deal. Let me treat you to a big meal. What if it can't be done? She handed me the documents and said, "Then your reputation will stink along with mine." I smiled and took it. I'll try not to stink. Inside the counseling room, the girl remained seated in the same position, motionless. "Why are you only here now?" The man on the sofa didn't look up. Seeing that I didn't say anything, he frowned and finally raised his head. "Someone new, and a young one at that. Are you just giving up now? Can't you just say plainly that you can't treat it?" A series of rhetorical questions, arrogant and impolite. I made a shushing gesture and pointed to the door, signaling him to leave. "You deal with your business. I'm leaving. My sister will be scared." The man looked about my age, but dressed unusually well. Only the arrogant attitude is detestable. I nodded. "All right, if you think staying with her will make things better, take her home and don't come back." The man slapped the table and stood up. The watch chain struck the glass mirror, making a click. "What kind of attitude is that?" I took a sip of tea. "If you want to be cured, then leave. If you don't want treatment, then I won't see you off." Bu Shanyang bit his lip, lowering his head gently as he carefully took hold of the girl's hand that had just slapped him. The girl let out a roar and flung him away. He murmured softly, all right, I won't touch you. I'll wait outside. Promise I won't leave. Call me if you need anything." His eyes were filled with concern. He looked up at me. His features were still handsome and dashing, but his tone was worlds apart. He picked up one of my plastic business cards. "You're quite young, but your business cards are made quite sturdy. Fu Yinginge. Right. Don't put on such a tough act. It might all turn out to be just for show. 1 week. If you can't cure my sister, I'll make sure this hospital shuts down." He snorted and went out. I really wanted to suggest that he also seek counseling. I didn't say a word, nor did I ask a single question. Flipping through books, watering the flowers, scrolling through my phone. In his social media feed, He Yen flaunts a high-end luxury car. In his selfies, he is dressed impeccably with a lavishly decorated villa in the background. Mutual friends flock to the comments to cozy up to him. "Rock on, Brother Yen. What projects have you been working on lately? Made it big. Won't forget your brothers. Right. When are you marrying, sistering? We guys will definitely be there." He Yen replied one by one. "What project? Just got lucky. Don't worry, bro. When I make it big, I won't forget my brothers, unlike some ungrateful bastards. I broke up with that girl. Out with the old, in with the new. Your new sister-in-law is a rich, beautiful woman, and we're getting engaged. Start preparing your wedding gifts. He moved on so seamlessly and shamelessly. I found it boring and just closed it. Time passed second by second. Gu Shangyan seemed tired of slapping and leaned back on the sofa. She remained immersed in her own world, but later still cast a few curious glances at me. It was time for the consultation. I closed my eyes to rest and didn't look at her. It's time. Go back with your brother. Her lifeless eyes showed a hint of surprise, but she left without saying anything. Hearing that I didn't ask anything throughout, senior sister Lian laughed so hard her stomach hurt. Just this. Are you planning to rule by doing nothing? Just wait for her brother to complain about you. I really didn't do anything. But that doesn't mean I wasn't working during that silent hour. I put myself in a situation. Suppose Hien pulled me under the big truck that day, and we didn't die. I survived. What should my feelings be? Despair, anger, sorrow, of course. Most importantly, I would hate myself for being blind, for loving someone I shouldn't have. So what I need most is not revenge, not comfort, but to forgive. It's not him that I forgive. It's myself. I forgive myself for misjudging the person. Forgive me for not loving myself well enough, for believing in those I shouldn't have. But this step, unless one figures it out for themselves, no one can help. But I'm not entirely sure either, because I am not Gu Xingyan. I could only try my best to empathize. So for 6 consecutive days, I didn't say a word. She also remained silent. On the 7th day, as soon as I arrived at work, I received a call from Song Qi. He Yan and Sun Shangshang are getting married, and he deliberately sent me an invitation to his private villa, saying he forgives us both, wishes us well, and wants me to bring you to witness his happiness. Just showing off. I am. Everything is ready on my end. If you're too busy to come, I'll handle it all. I snorted coldly, as the ex-girlfriend of a cheating guy. How could I miss the show? His glorious moment shone. We both send our blessings together. I love watching dramas the most. Besides, it's starring Hien. All right, let's discuss it in detail after you get off work. After hanging up the phone, I couldn't help but feel a bit excited, only to be startled by someone behind me. Today marks the 7th day. Dr. Fu, Gu Shanyan's sharply defined face, carried a mix of disappointment and sarcasm. 3 parts disappointment, 7 parts mockery. Those two have been here for 14 days, yet they still can't get my sister to speak. I suggest your hospital should just close down early. I really have nothing to argue back. If Gu Xinyan doesn't want to talk, no matter how much I beg, it won't help. Although Gu Xinyan mocked me, he still respected me. After sending Gu Xinyan into the room, he left. After the door was closed, I took out a lollipop and handed it to Gu Xinyan. She didn't take it, so I placed it beside her desk, pulling out a chair to sit down. Her clear and ethereal voice came softly. Are you still not going to say anything today? I was overjoyed inside, but kept a calm exterior. I know you don't want to talk. She fell silent for a moment. Seeing that I didn't press further, she let out a long sigh of relief and began to recount her story. For 5 years, I gave him the most precious years of my youth. I cut ties with my father for him, a pampered young lady who had always been taken care of by a nanny, and moved into a rented apartment with him, doing laundry, cooking, and taking care of him. My brother felt sorry for me and sent me money, but when he started his own business, I saved it all up and gave it to him. Eventually, his business took off, and seeing that my father had given all the family assets to my brother, he ran off with a wealthy client who was several years older than him. Afraid that my brother would come after him, he deliberately got me drunk to fake carbon monoxide poisoning. Am I stupid? Am I crazy? My brother shouldn't have saved me. He should have let me die. In truth, when Hien rushed toward the truck with me in his arms, my heart was also filled with despair, but truly experiencing the pain of having one's internal organs torn apart, along with the flash of a lifetime's people and events in the mind, family, and friends. Only then did I realize that compared to life, nothing else matters. Why do you think the fault lies with yourself? The fault lies with the scumbag. Bu Shin! Yen twisted open the lollipop, offering a weak smile. Isn't being blind a fault? My dad wants me to go home. My brother wants to break his legs. Neither of them blames me. No one blames me at all. But I've broken my father's heart, lost a girl's virginity, and made my brother suffer for me. I don't deserve their love. I look down on myself. Anyway, when I came here, I had already decided to talk to you for a bit and then leave. I don't want to meet him in my next life. Thank you for respecting me these past few days. It's just my brother. He's only just returned home, and I'm afraid he'll be upset for a while. She licked her lollipop, her tone light and casual. Actually, as a psychological counselor, what I fear most is when patients have a look of indifference on their faces, because at this moment, they have truly made up their minds. I pulled the curtains, and sunlight filled the entire room. You told your story. How about listening to mine? Sure. I honestly shared everything I had done for Hyan. Washing clothes during my period, no birthday gifts, earning money to support the family, always putting him first. In fact, every girl who is deeply devoted to love fears that she hasn't done enough. But in the end, it's nothing more than self-gratification. Dr. Fu, at least my boyfriend appears decent on the surface. But your boyfriend is just a jerk. You're even more love-obsessed than I am. See, sometimes when you compare yourself to others, you realize you're not actually the worst off. She pressed on, and then what? How did you finally figure it out? I was killed by him. After hearing my story, Gu Shanyan burst out laughing. He ended up stabbing his buddy to death because he couldn't borrow money. And then he held you while getting hit by a truck, taking you both out. And then you, the scumbag, and your mutual friend all got reborn together. Aha, that's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. She laughed so hard, she nearly doubled over, finally wiping away her tears. Thank you, Dr. Fu. You even made up such a joke to treat me. Seriously, this is the funniest joke I've heard in days. I looked at her earnestly. You don't believe me, but it's true. She didn't argue either. So what if it is? If it's true, then you can't handle me even more. Killed by someone like that, and you can still sit here so calmly. You haven't even solved your own problems, yet you dare to think about treating me. She crunched the lollipop into pieces. Then she stood up. Sis, you're not cut out to be a counselor. You should be an actress, not bad acting. I sneered. Me, calm and composed. Are you suggesting that after being victimized by scum like him once, I should just sit around sobbing? Or should I jump off from here? I pointed at the window. I gritted my teeth and said the words I wanted to tell her. I handed him the knife of trust, and he betrayed me. I've already been hurt. I've already paid the price. So, why should I pick up the knife again and stab myself over and over? So, not only do I not want to stab myself anymore, I also want him to pay the price. Gu Shengyan was stunned by the coldness in my eyes. You're a psychologist. After all, counselors are human, too. Besides, I don't intend to do anything. I just need to watch him face the consequences of his own actions. The consultation time is up. Dr. Fu, I'll think carefully about what you said today when I get home. Maybe I'll come back tomorrow. Or maybe, I know making up stories is just a way for you to hold me back. But I really don't believe in rebirth. It's just self-deception. But anyway, thank you very much. She gently opened the door. Seeing outside the door, I suddenly froze in a daze. Brother Qi, what are you doing here? Song Qi is Gu Sheng, Yan's childhood friend. He is Gu Sheng, Yan's sworn brother. Song Qi saw Gu Sheng, Yan coming out of the bathroom and immediately went for a chokehold. Gu Sheng Yan, not knowing who it was, cursed in Mandarin. Upon recognizing Song Qi, his anger turned to delight. Damn, I was wondering why this move felt so familiar. Song Qi gestured. You little rascal. You didn't even tell me you were coming back to the country. And Yan, why does your face look so pale? What's wrong with you? Gu Shanyan might have felt awkward with me standing nearby, so he put his arm around Song Chi's shoulder. Just mentioning this makes me angry. Let's grab a bite to eat, and we can talk about it slowly. I haven't asked you yet. Why are you here? 2. Kid, I'm here to pick up my friend. We need to talk about something. Song Chi pushed aside his buddy to look at me. Gu Xingyan's face stiffened, feeling awkward as he recalled his previous arrogance and disdain toward me. Finally, tentatively, Dr. Fu, would you do me the honor? How about having a meal together? I gave him a glare, glanced at Gu Shengyan, and still agreed. Unexpectedly, Gu Xingyan waved her hand. Brother Qi, I'm not feeling well. You guys go ahead. I don't want to eat. Gu Xingyan was somewhat pleased to see her speaking. Song Qi looked a bit worried, but Gu Xingyan didn't seem to want to say anything either. Gu Xingyan couldn't persuade her either. Forget it. Then let's just send her back first. But I grabbed her and whispered secretly, Song Qi, my friend, who was reborn with me. You can ask him later. And tomorrow, the two of us will witness the scumbag getting what he deserves. Gu Shengyan hesitated for a moment, but was eventually won over by curiosity. On the day of the wedding banquet, outside the fence of Sun Shangxiang's private villa, gorgeous roses with thorns were intertwined. Expensive sofas and chairs were placed in the courtyard. Sunlight slanted down, casting model that reflected the courtyard's luxury. Celebrities from all walks of life, along with the media, are eagerly awaiting the grand wedding of this talented couple. Even before the ceremony began, it had already become a trending topic. Guests at the scene were also buzzing with discussions. I heard that Shang was saved by him, so she decided to marry him in return. This kid is really lucky. What he saved wasn't a person at all, but clearly a money tree. He won't have to worry about food and drink for the rest of his life. Won't all of old Sun's fortune belong to him in the future? He Yen, dressed in a high-end wedding gown, was overjoyed amidst the envious gazes of the crowd. We chose the table in the corner. Everyone at the table marveled at the extravagance of the wedding. Gu Shanyan sat beside me, murmuring, if he hadn't broken up with me, our wedding would have been even more lavish than this. I patted her hand. There's no need to regret. He's not worth it. Soon, amidst the clinking of glasses and continuous laughter, the bride, Sun Shangshang, made her entrance. She wore a white wedding dress, as noble and elegant as a princess. He Yan's eyes widened and gasps erupted from the crowd. As the two were about to drink the wedding wine together, several men rushed into the hall and pointed at the stage. It's her. Yes, it's her. He Yan's good deed was interrupted, and he shielded Sun Shangshang while shouting for security. Unexpectedly, several police officers also entered the courtyard. Sun Shangshang's father frowned and said, Police colleagues, what are you doing on my daughter's wedding day? The police officer flashed his badge, glanced at the crowded first and second floors of the villa, and spoke with righteous indignation. We suspect your daughter is involved in retaliating against society and endangering public order. We need her to cooperate with us and return for investigation. He Yan couldn't stand it. He rushed down the stage in a few quick steps. What can't wait until after the wedding? My fiancée is gentle and delicate. How could she possibly pose a threat to public safety? He comforted the frightened son, Shangxiang. With eyes wide in fury, he pointed at the troublemaking men. They're just here to cause trouble. Yan seemed to understand something. Pointing at our table from afar, he slammed his hand on the table. It's you two causing trouble. Right. Are you even human? You cheated on my best friend. I forgave you and still kindly invited you to the wedding. So, you're targeting me. Gu Shengyan took a disdainful sip of her drink and pouted. Dr. Fu, your ex-boyfriend seems like a rabid dog. He Yan pointed at her. What do you think you are? What kind of little trash are you? Olivian son-in-law. Gu Shanyang splashed a glass of red wine over. He Yan's white shirt was instantly stained with wine. He was about to take action when the people around him recognized Gu Xingyang one after another. Isn't this the eldest son of the Gu family? The Gu and Sun families have been competing for so many years. So, he came here on purpose to stir up trouble. He Yan barely restrained his impulse. Comrade police, you heard it. They are deliberately disrupting the wedding. It should be them who are taken away. Unexpectedly, several men who had rushed in first couldn't bear it anymore. Dude, Sun Shangshang has AIDS. You've been deceived. The wedding that day did not proceed. The media hyped it up, and for a while, News about the oil tycoon's daughter contracting a venereal disease spread everywhere. Since the couple hadn't registered their marriage, Sun Shangshang refused to undergo a premarital medical checkup. She flatly denied everything and tried to use her family's influence to settle it quietly. But the Gu family, the biggest competitor, would never give her a chance. Moreover, she has harmed too many people. She still underwent the examination under police pressure. The fact of AIDS was instantly spread. Soon, Sun Shangshang's charges of retaliating against society and endangering the lives and health of others were firmly established. She wept with pear blossoms and rain, screaming and shouting at the police station. I am also a victim. Men are no good. I was just punishing them. Besides, didn't they love money and my beauty? They slept with me and spent my money. Isn't that what they deserved? Her accusations held no legal weight, but she didn't understand. These men who contracted AIDS were from different provinces. So, how could they have come together? Of course, all of this was thanks to Song Chi. He heard me talk about that patient and suspected there must be more than just him. So, he had been privately investigating Sun Shangshang's ex-boyfriends. I never expected that as many as 8 people were deceived. Some discovered it before marriage, others after. And the reason why Sun Shangshang's father agreed to her marrying below her status. It's precisely because he was also aware of the situation that he chose to turn a blind eye. The Sun family thus fell into decline, and their business and partners were naturally monopolized by the Gu family. Gu Shenyang was extremely grateful to both me and Song Chi, and Gu Shenyan, after seeing He Yan's true colors and his terrified reaction of kneeling down upon seeing the test report, felt a faint sense of satisfaction in her heart. She also had some changed opinions about me, although she still didn't believe the fact that Song Chi and I were reincarnated. She somehow no longer wanted to die, mainly because I'm also curious about what happened to my ex-boyfriend. That scumbag. She consulted with me for a few days, and her condition gradually improved. She came to the counseling room for the last time, holding my hand. Dr. Fu, Sister Ing, my ex-boyfriend came to see me. My brother said the rich woman he was seeing has a husband, and all his clients have been cheated by her. So now, he only has a shell company left. My heart sank. So what are you planning to do? She patted my hand, seeing that my dad and I have reconciled. You finally realize how good I am, and now you want to squeeze me dry again. Too bad. It's too late. I gave him a good scolding, and I acquired the only company he had and conveniently fired him. Gu Xingyan's smile was very beautiful. If someone stabs you once, it's because you've met the wrong person. If you let someone stab you twice, then you deserve to be stabbed. The first time was because I was blind. But sorry, now I can see again. Senior Lien also kept her promise and treated me to a big meal. Although she didn't know the specifics of the treatment process, she was thoroughly convinced. Putting everything else aside, her grumpy-faced brother not only didn't complain about us, but actually gave our hospital a shout-out to the media. And he specifically mentioned you by name. You've got some skills. I shook my head, only able to say that it was just the right timing, location, and people. Or perhaps heaven took pity on me, and on Gu Xingyan as well. Later, Gu Shengyan never came to the counseling room again, but privately, the 4 of us became close friends, often having meals together. On Gu Shengyan's birthday, after dinner, we went to watch a movie. We got back very late. As I reached the street corner, I saw several people surrounding someone, punching and kicking them. Gu Shenyang and Song Chi stepped forward to intervene. The thugs were pulled away, spitting and cursing, but they were persuaded with kind words. Buddy, we know you mean well, but this guy has AIDS. He gambles, borrowed money from us, and won't pay it back, and even wants us to die with him. He's scum. Stay away from him. The man on the ground was as thin as a stick, clutching his head and groaning. He was covered in mud, with his exposed skin festering, looking utterly wretched. The smell of blood and the alcohol from the shattered bottle blended together. Under the streetlight, his face looked increasingly familiar to me. He Yan. Song Chi also recognized him. He Yan paused for a moment. He bent over and grabbed Song Chi's thigh. Dude, I'm in such a bad situation. Look at how well dressed you guys are. Lend me some money. I haven't eaten in days. As soon as he finished speaking, he lunged for Songchi's pocket. Panicking, he quickly pulled out his wallet, threw a stack of 100 yuan bills on the ground, then tossed the wallet and ran away. Songchi didn't chase after him, but shouted, "You know, Hien, this is what you deserve." Hien stopped in his tracks. He slowly turned around, a look of sudden realization on his face. Now I finally understand why everything went so smoothly and why it all seemed so coincidental. It turns out both of you have been reborn as well. His eyes bloodshot. He roared, "Why? You two clearly knew she was sick. So why didn't you tell me? Are you even human?" I sneered. "Isn't it because you're jealous of Songchi? Aren't you blaming me for delaying your chance to save someone? In my previous life, I ran to tell you she was sick, but did you even listen? You were already blinded by money. This life, we didn't do anything. Everything was your own choice. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself." He cursed loudly, picking up a sharp piece of glass from the ground and charging at me like a madman. Gu Shengyan pushed Gu Shengyan aside and stood in front of me. The shard pierced his chest. Gu Shengyan gripped the glass, shard tightly, blood dripping down. I kicked Hien in the stomach. He was yanked hard by Songchi and fell to the ground. He still wanted to pick up the glass shards and rush over again. Unexpectedly, a speeding large vehicle suddenly ran over him. He lay motionless on the ground. A moment later, a large pool of blood spread around him. I instinctively glanced at the license plate number and was stunned. This was the very car that had hit us both in our previous life. Hien was dead. From the testimonies of several of us and from the surveillance footage, we were ruled as acting in self-defense, and his death was deemed an accident. Gu Shengyan only suffered a hand injury. He examined the business card with the dent in it. Luckily, it was in my shirt pocket. Not to mention, the quality of your business card is quite good. Where did you get it made? Could you recommend it to me? After saying that, he raised his face with a look that begged for a punch. And besides, I did kind of save the damsel in distress, didn't I? How are you going to repay me? Gu Shengyan didn't mind stirring things up and chimed in. Offer yourself in marriage. Offer yourself in marriage. Stop fooling around, I said, handing him a peeled apple. I'll cover the medical expenses. What about compensation for emotional distress? I shoved the apple into his hands. No. Several people looked a bit disappointed. I smiled. But I can offer you a few free counseling sessions. That might not be easy to treat. He wore a sinisterly charming expression. Songchi and Gu Shengyan laughed more happily than Gu Shenyang. For a moment, the room was filled with laughter and joy. Outside the window, the clouds have cleared, and the sun is shining brightly. Look, the cloudy days will always pass. A new life will always come. The second story, my husband broke his leg, but my mother-in-law insisted that he go back home for tomb sweeping day to visit the graves. Visiting the graves requires crossing 8 mountains. I advised my husband to recover first and go next year. My husband agreed, but his recovery was not going well and he ended up lame. My mother-in-law wailed and cried, grabbing me as she cursed. It's all because you wouldn't let my son go back to sweep the grave. This is the retribution for being unfil. Even my husband looked at me with resentment. Later, he cheated on me and said that every time he took a step, he hated me once. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn to the day. My husband asked me whether I wanted to go back and sweep the graves. This time, I said, you decide. I had returned to the day before tomb sweeping day. My husband's fractured right leg was in a cast, propped up on the coffee table, and he was completely sprawled out on the sofa. His phone kept buzzing nonstop. Voice messages from his mother kept popping up one after another. Son, you must come back for tomb sweeping day to visit the graves. Our family only has you as the one male heir. If you don't come back, there won't even be anyone to burn paper offerings at the graves. Your dad passed away early, and if you don't come back to hold up the family, he won't be able to rest easy even down below. That son from your second uncle's family is coming back this year too, if you can't make it back. Who in the clan will take you seriously in the future? After listening to each line, my husband threw his phone onto the sofa. Then he turned to look at me. Wife, I have to go back for Qingming. I've heard this line before in my past life. I tried to persuade him for a whole day and night. I said, your leg has a comminuted fracture, and the doctor said, you can't bear weight. I said, our hometown requires crossing 8 mountain ridges, and you can't even walk to the entrance of the residential compound. I said, wait until next year when your leg has healed, and then go. Our ancestors won't blame you. He wouldn't listen. His mother-in-law wouldn't listen either. In the end, I had to threaten divorce before I managed to stop him. As a result, after half a year of recovery, his leg was still left lame. My mother-in-law knelt in the ancestral hall and cried, pointing at my nose and cursing me. It's all because of you. You jinx. What's the point of tomb sweeping? It's to let the descendants go and reconnect with and nourish their roots. This is how the family stays connected to its roots. Our ancestors watch over us through these traditions. Do you understand? The bloodline of our Liu family depends on this annual tomb sweeping meal to bring in the ancestors' blessings. You cut it off with your own hands, and that's why his legs were crippled. My husband believed it, too. Every time he walked with a limp, he would glare at me viciously. Are you satisfied now? I'm like this because of you. Later, he cheated on me, holding another woman in his arms. He said, she ruined my leg and she ruined my whole life. I was thrown out of the house with nothing, left with no share of the marital property. Later, I died in an accidental car crash, and yet, unexpectedly, I had returned to this day. My husband was still waiting for my answer. I looked at his right leg in a cast and remembered the way he had held that woman and said he hated me. Then I smiled. You're the one who wants to go, so you decide. He froze for a moment. Then his eyes lit up. You really agree? Of course. I agree. In my last life, I made decisions for him, and when something went wrong, he blamed everything on me. This life, he chose the path himself. Let's see who he can dump the blame on now, but getting back will require a car. My husband asked me to call my sister to borrow her SUV. I lied. My sister said she needs it herself this year, so she can't lend it. His face sank. Then what should we do? What about our own car? I asked. The air went quiet. The car was registered under my name, but on the day it was picked up, my mother-in-law said that Shurao Jun from her brother's family should drive it away, and he had been driving it for 3 years straight. I argued and made a scene, but my husband said I was being petty and my mother-in-law said I was being immature. In the end, the car still wasn't taken back. My husband looked down at his legs. Then go ask Xia Jun for it. Okay. Then go tell Shurao Jun. My husband froze. You're not going to tell him. I sneered inwardly. Every time we needed the car, I was the one who had to play the bad guy, while he stood by and played the good one. Whenever I was about to come back, he would just drive off in silence. If I didn't come back, he would say, look at you now. You've made the relationship with the relatives so tense. Anyway, no matter what, he was always the innocent one. I sighed. This car was originally given to Xia Jun for use under your mom's decision. If I go to ask for it back, what would your mom think? She'd definitely think I'm still holding a grudge over what happened back then. And then there'd be another fight at home. My husband opened his mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. He probably wanted to object, but for the sake of the family, he was left speechless. If I had thrown a tantrum and shamelessly demanded the car, he could still have looked down on me and criticized me for not caring about the relatives' dignity. Now that I'm being so considerate, he instead has nothing to say. In the end, he called himself. When the call connected, Shurao Jun said he needed to use the car during Qingming festival to take his girlfriend out. My husband panicked. This is an important matter for tomb sweeping. Shurao Jun hung up right away. My husband was holding the phone. Trembling, he suddenly turned to look at me. Can't you say something on my behalf? I sighed. Shurao Jun is still young. He'll understand when he's a bit older. That was what they used to shut me up before. My husband's face turned red and his lips trembled for a long time before he could get any words out. Fortunately, the high-speed rail tickets had not sold out. When we had just set out, He sat in the wheelchair, turning the wheels to glide forward, not even wanting me to push him in the elevator. We ran into a neighbor. When the neighbor asked where he was going, he raised his voice a few notches. Going back to my hometown to sweep the graves for Qingming Festival. The neighbor glanced at his legs, seeming to want to say something, but stopping himself. He acted as if he hadn't noticed at all. After getting on the train, he immediately started to wilt. The space in second class was already small, and with his leg in a cast prop there, it was even more inconvenient. I just pretended not to see it. After a while, my husband poked my arm. "I'm thirsty." "Then drink more water." My husband was stunned. "Then give me the water." I showed him my empty hands. "I forgot to bring it." "How could you forget to bring it?" He raised his voice. I hummed twice and began resting with my eyes closed. Whenever I used to go out, I would have everything perfectly prepared, fill the thermos with water, stuff snacks into my bag, and even carry a warm blanket with me. And what happened when he kicked me out? He didn't even let me take a single change of clothes. He looked at me, then looked at me again. It seemed like he was waiting for me to take the initiative and buy him water. And he just kept waiting like that until the car stopped. When we got off, he wouldn't let me help him. It was obvious he was sulking over the water issue, where the wheelchair couldn't get through. He leaned on his cane and walked by himself, deliberately bumping into obstacles and grimacing in pain. He was basically forcing me to feel sorry for him. So, I'd hurry up and apologize for not bringing water in return, get the privilege of helping support him as he walked. He was so sure of these little tricks, because I cared about him this whole life. I just watched him put on a show, like watching a monkey act. I casually brushed him off without any real feeling. "Be careful, don't fall." But his hands were in his pockets, and he showed no intention of helping at all. In the end, her husband finally calmed down on his own. He made 5 or 6 calls, but no one answered. The relative who had originally promised to come pick him up was nowhere to be seen. He finally got through to one of them, but amid the clatter of mahjong tiles, the other person complained a few times and hung up. He probably wanted to curse a few times, but when he saw me, he shut his mouth again. In front of me, he always takes his family's side. In the end, we finally managed to hail a car. The driver asked for 300, when it usually only costs 60. My husband gritted his teeth and agreed, then turned to look at me, his expression clearly saying, "Why didn't you bargain?" I turned my gaze to the window. There are too many things like this. He is always the good guy, and I am always the bad one. He's polite and amiable out there, while I have to act like a shrew. The mountain road was bumpy. My husband's right leg bumped against the car door with each sway of the vehicle. He was in so much pain that cold sweat covered his forehead. Yet, he clenched his lips and said nothing. If it had been before, I would have already felt sorry for him and made him rest his leg on me. Now, I just pretended to be asleep, my head leaning against the car window, my eyes closed. The driver glanced at him several times in the rearview mirror and couldn't help saying, "Bro, your leg is pretty badly injured, and you're still going up the mountain." The husband forced himself to say, "Visiting the graves is a big deal." The driver didn't say anything else, but from his expression, you could tell he was thinking, "This guy must be crazy." By the time they reached the entrance to the village, it was already dark. Mother-in-law stood at the crossroads waiting. As soon as she saw us, she rushed over, her eyes red. "What a sin! How did your leg get hurt so badly?" My husband patted her hand. "It's nothing, just minor injuries. The ancestors bless those who honor them," Mother-in-law said, wiping away tears. "Tomorrow, go and kowtow a few times at the gravesite. Soak up some of the ancestral, grave, spiritual energy, and maybe when you come back, you'll be fine." I stood nearby, listening, my heart calm as a dead pool of water. I'd like to see whether in this lifetime his legs will still be crippled under the protection of the ancestors. When we got back to my mother-in-law's place, she was already busy gathering the offerings. In the past, every time we swept the graves, I had to help prepare everything. A chicken had to be whole, the pork had to be 3 lean, and 3 chin, and the fruit had to be an odd number rather than an even number. It always took a full day of running around in advance to get everything ready. But my mother-in-law always complained that the chicken was too skinny and that the apples weren't red enough. My husband would say from the side, "If Mom says it's not suitable, then it's not suitable. Go buy another one." So I went, but now I'm sitting in the room, playing on my phone, munching on an apple, completely at ease. My mother-in-law's voice came from the yard. "Son, where's your wife? Why isn't she coming over to help?" My husband stammered, She's tired from riding in the car." My mother-in-law let out a TCH, her voice neither too loud nor too soft. "Tired from riding in the car. What's so tiring about that? When I was carrying you, I was still pulling radishes in the fields the day before I went into labor." My husband said he would help wash the vegetables. Mother-in-law gave him a push. "How would you know how to do this? My good son, you should learn from your wife how to enjoy a life of comfort." I didn't care. Whoever wanted to do it could do it. Anyway, it wasn't my ancestors. In the middle of the night, my husband kept tossing and turning in bed. His legs started to ache and swell. I heard him suck in a sharp breath, and I also heard him call out softly, "Honey." I didn't respond. I pretended to be sound asleep. He was silent for a long time, then sighed and propped himself up to sit, groping for the water to pour himself a drink. But where is the water? In the past, the water in the kettle was always boiled and poured by me, and I would place it where he could reach it just by stretching out his hand. When he needed to turn over in the middle of the night, I would support his legs. When he needed to go to the bathroom, I would help him make his way step by step along the narrow hallway. He had forgotten it all. He only remembered me stopping him from sweeping the grave. Early the next morning, before it was even light, my mother-in-law came knocking on the door. Get up. Let's go up the mountain early while it's still cool. There are 8 mountain rits. We won't get there until noon if we walk." My husband struggled to sit up, his face completely pale. I glanced at his leg. It had already started to swell slightly. It was a comminuted fracture, and the doctor had said he absolutely must not bear any weight. Absolutely not. But I said nothing. In the kitchen, my mother-in-law was putting JS paper and incense sticks into a basket. When she saw me come in, she didn't even lift her eyelids. "Take that pot of oil with you. We need to pour it as an offering at the ancestral grave on the way." Okay. I held the oil bottle in my hands, being unbelievably polite. My mother-in-law probably found it odd. She stared at me for several seconds, muttering, "You're being unusually well behaved today," and said nothing else. But after my husband came out in his wheelchair, he looked at me carrying the stuff and froze for a moment. "Mom, who's going to push me later? So many relatives. If each of them pushed for a stretch, she'd be up there in no time." When they went out, the relatives came in a grand procession, but when asked who could push the wheelchair, they all made excuses and dodged the task. In the end, after the mother-in-law pleaded with everyone and said everything she could, she finally managed to get 2 half-grown boys who weren't carrying anything in their hands to come help. But the road up the mountain was terrible. Calling it a road was generous. It was really just gullies washed out by rainwater with stones jumbled all over the dirt and waist-high thatch grass on both sides. It was full of potholes, and the wheelchair wheels got stuck several times. The 2 half-grown boys were sweating profusely as they pushed, cursing under their breath, growing more and more irritable the harder they pushed. When crossing a ditch, with a sudden hard push, the wheelchair tilted sharply to the left, and half of my husband's body was left hanging in the air. His face turned pale in an instant, and both hands clutched the armrests tightly. His lips trembling, I stood behind and watched. Expressionless, my mother-in-law was beside us, so anxious. She kept stamping her feet. Slow down, don't let my son fall." Before she could finish, the wheelchair tilted again and almost toppled over completely. "Who can push this damn cart?" After cursing a few times, the half-grown boy bolted off in a flash. The mother-in-law handed me the basket, but after pushing it twice, still couldn't move it. My husband could only walk with the help of crutches. I carried the basket and walked in front while my mother-in-law supported my husband as they walked behind. Before we had gone 50 m, he was already drenched in sweat. My husband's cane slipped on the gravel and he pitched sideways. My mother-in-law reached out to help him, nearly getting pulled down with him. Mom, I can't go on. My husband panted heavily. Almost there. Almost there. Once we get over this hill, we'll be there, Mom. My husband's voice was trembling. How many more do we have to climb? Not many. Just 4 or 5. Actually, it was 8. My husband didn't say anything else. He lowered his head, clenched his teeth, and moved forward step by step. I carried the oil can, unhurried. When we reached the middle of the first hillside, my husband finally couldn't hold on any longer. He sat down on the ground, gasping for breath. Mom, how about we just don't go? No, the mother-in-law said through clenched teeth. You have to go. Your dad's grave is in the back hill. If you don't even go to your dad's grave, what will the people in the clan think of you? You know what your second uncle is like. Don't you know that mouth of his? He could keep talking about it until the day you die. My husband didn't answer, but looked at me. I had seen that look many times. Every time he ran into trouble, he would look at me with that kind of gaze, expecting me to step in and stand up for him. This time, as always, they were counting on me to be the unfit one to bear the consequences of not offering sacrifices to our ancestors or sweeping their graves. I stood there, my expression flat, saying not a single word. The light in his eyes gradually faded. Mother-in-law glanced at the sky. Why don't we rest for a while before leaving? My husband nodded gratefully. I sat down on a stone by the roadside and opened my water bottle to drink. My husband opened his mouth as if to say something, then swallowed it back down. My mother-in-law, on the other hand, rummaged through the basket and handed over a thermos cup. Son, have some water. My husband took the cup, tilted his head back, and gulped a mouthful, then suddenly coughed it back out, coughing so hard that tears streamed down his face. Ha! Oh dear, I figured it was cold up in the mountains, so I specially filled it with hot water for you. My mother-in-law said, patting his back. Drink slowly, drink slowly. I turned my head and looked at the distant mountains. After resting for 10 minutes, we started walking again. My mother-in-law kept saying, slow down, then our ancestors are watching. Hang in there. In 10 minutes, we walked 100 m. My mother-in-law grew anxious. At this rate, we won't make it before dark. How about finding someone to carry you? My husband's eyes lit up. The relatives who had been slowly walking over from nearby sped up when they heard that and disappeared in just a few seconds. My mother-in-law's face darkened, but she was too embarrassed to say anything and instead took it out on me. It's just a basket, and you don't even know to lend a hand. By the time we were halfway up the third mountain, my husband finally couldn't hold out any longer. He slumped on a rock, his injured right leg stretched straight out. The old woman squatted beside him, wiping away his sweat with her sleeve, still muttering, hold on a little longer. Once we get over this hill, it'll be fine. Think about your daughter's been waiting down there for a year just for you to come. My husband closed his eyes, his chest rising and falling so violently it sounded like a bellows being pumped. I stood 3 steps away, still holding the pot of oil in my hands. In my previous life, I did everything I could to stop him from going, and I was cursed at for a full 6 years. In this life, I let him choose for himself. I wanted to see just how much that word filial piety was really worth. Or my husband opened his eyes and looked at me with difficulty. Or wife, you go for me, bow to dad on my behalf, and burn some paper money. I almost laughed out loud. He didn't use to say that after he started limping. Every time we argued, he would bring up old grievances. You're the one who ruined me. What would you know about how important tomb sweeping is? Honey, I said gently, I'd like to go, but Mom said, tomb sweeping is a matter for the men of the Liu family. I'm married into this family. Your ancestors wouldn't accept offerings for me anyway. My mother-in-law's face stiffened. My husband opened his mouth, then closed it again. He probably remembered that his mother really had said something like that. It was the year we had just gotten married, and I offered to go sweep my father-in-law's grave. My mother-in-law stopped me on the spot. What are you going for? You're a daughter-in-law who married into this family. Just stay home and cook and wait. In this situation, who could you blame? My husband's cane was planted on the ground, motionless for a long time. He stared at his own legs as if making some momentous decision. Mom, he finally said, his voice so low it was almost inaudible. Why don't we let it go this year? His mother-in-law's expression changed at once. Let it go. How can we just let it go? Her voice turned shrill. We've come all this way, and now you say, let it go. Even that useless one from your second uncle's family knows to go back and burn paper offerings. You're the eldest son and eldest grandson. If you don't go, there won't even be a trace of paper ash at your father's grave this year. But my leg, what's wrong with your leg? Your ancestors will bless you. My mother-in-law's tone softened again, carrying a kind of almost superstitious conviction. Visiting the grave is about reporting your hardships to the ancestors. If you go kneel and pay respects with a broken leg, wouldn't that show even more sincerity? If he gives it a little push from below, maybe your leg will get better after all. My husband's expression wavered. He looked at me as if waiting for me to say something. If this had happened before, I definitely would have rushed up and argued with my mother-in-law. She said this was futile superstition. You don't trust the doctor's diagnosis, but you trust this instead. If his leg ends up ruined, are you going to take responsibility? And then all the anger was directed at me. This time I just gave a slight smile. Honey, you're the head of the family. Just decide. Mother-in-law immediately chimed in. Then let's keep going. My son is the most filial of all. Our ancestors will surely bless us. At last, on a downhill stretch, he stumbled and his whole body lurched forward. Mother-in-law let out a scream. I didn't even have time to stop Heimermer. Rather, I didn't really want to. He fell onto the gravel road, and the cast on his right leg hit a protruding rock with a dull thud. My husband let out a miserable cry. My mother-in-law rushed over and pulled him into her arms, tears streaming down her face at once. My son, are you all right? My husband was in so much pain that he couldn't speak. He could only bite his lip hard, his whole body trembling. I stood beside him, watching him huddle on the ground. 8 mountains. In my previous life, I had already described to him what the concept of 8 mountains meant. He listened, but he didn't take it seriously, or rather he knew it mattered. But when his leg was lame, he still had to find someone to blame. He didn't blame himself, and he didn't blame his mother. The one he blamed was me. He blamed me, the woman who stopped him from climbing even after he'd broken a bone and still wanted to scale 8 mountains. Mom, my husband opened his eyes, his voice trembling. I can't climb anymore. The grandmother squatted down, patted his head, and coaxed him like a child. Be good. The ancestors are watching. Your filial devotion will be blessed by them, blessed by the ancestors. I repeated that line in my mind. When the ancestors were alive, they never amounted to much. So after death, can they really bless people in the end? It was an older brother who helped carry him up there. Mother-in-law gave him several hundred yuan. The older brother hesitated for a moment, looked at my husband's plastered leg, swollen almost to the point of bursting, then looked at the rolling ridge line in the distance, and said, forget it. We're relatives after all. When they reached the grave, Mother-in-law arranged the offerings and lit the incense and candles. My husband couldn't kneel, so he sat in the wheelchair and bowed toward the grave. My mother-in-law kowtowed 3 times, murmuring under her breath, Ancestors of the Liu family, your descendants have come to see you. He hurt his leg. Please bless him from beneath the earth and let him recover soon. After the paper was burned and the firecrackers set off, my mother-in-law told me to pour the pot of oil in front of the grave. I poured the oil down and watched the orange-yellow liquid seep into the yellow earth. My mother-in-law and my husband stared intently as well as if hoping the oil would awaken their ancestors. By the time we got home, it was already evening. My husband was taken straight to the town clinic. When the doctor saw his cast split like that, his face turned green. How far exactly did you make him walk? My mother-in-law hemmed and hawed. Just a few steps. You have to walk when visiting a grave. After all, the doctor glanced at her expression. "We can't handle this here. He needs to be transferred to a hospital in the city." My mother-in-law's knees gave out and she collapsed onto the floor. They called a car that same night and sent her husband to the city hospital. The mountain road was bumpy and her husband groaned in pain the whole way in the car while his mother-in-law held his head and cried all the way. When they got to the hospital, the doctor took an X-ray and his expression turned very grim. "We need to operate immediately, but you must sign a liability waiver since it's come to this point. There's a significant risk of paralysis after the surgery." When my mother-in-law heard the word paralysis, she staggered back a step. Then, "Will he still be able to recover?" The doctor didn't give a definite answer, only said, "It depends on his fate." When my husband was wheeled into the operating room, he looked back at me and his expression was very complicated. I just stood in the hallway, leaning against the wall, saying nothing. The surgery lasted nearly 4 hours when my husband was wheeled out. His right leg from the top of his thigh all the way to his ankle had been fixed with steel pins and plates, far worse than the limp he had in his previous life by more than tenfold. In his previous life, it was only because it had developed improperly and he walked with a limp. In this life, the doctor said that even if he recovered well, he would still have to use a cane for the rest of his life. If he didn't recover well, this leg might be ruined. His mother-in-law cried loudly in the ward, so loudly that the whole building could hear her. As she cried, she suddenly started cursing at me. "You jinx! This is all your fault. If you had taken better care of him, would he have broken his leg? If you hadn't let go of him on the mountain, would he have fallen and ended up like this? It's all your fault." Her finger was almost poking my face, with today's yellow cemetery soil still stuck under her fingernails. My husband was looking at me, too. I was all too familiar with that look after he became lame in his last life. Every time he had trouble walking, it was that same look. Her husband spoke in a hoarse voice. The doctor said that if we hadn't come hiking back then and had properly rested, there was a very good chance it could have fully recovered. He paused. "Why didn't you stop me?" I burst out laughing. The room fell silent for a moment. My mother-in-law's sobs caught in her throat, and my husband's expression shifted from resentment to shock. They probably had never heard me laugh like that before. Not a bitter laugh, not a sneering laugh, just the kind that feels genuinely funny, the kind that makes you burst out laughing. I asked, "What if I had stopped you and your legs still ended up crippled?" My husband looked at me blankly. My mother-in-law only froze for a moment before blowing up. "What do you mean by that? How dare you talk back? You're nothing but a jinx, a husband killer, a family killer, a curse on my son. I'm telling you, his leg was ruined because of you. You have to take care of him for the rest of your life. You owe him this. Even if you die, you'll never be able to pay it back." I was even more tempted to laugh. In my previous life, I sincerely tried to stop her, and she cursed me as a bringer of bad luck. In this life, I followed her son's wishes, and she still cursed me as a bringer of bad luck. If only I could really bring bad luck after all. I ignored my crazy mother-in-law. I knew that what she felt more than anything was fear, afraid that her precious eldest son would have no one to take care of him in the future. She quickly peed and a whole set of moral and etiquette standards on me. It was a bit better than in my previous life. In my previous life, when I was at the end of my rope, I also lost my head and thought of asking my mother-in-law to help say a few words. She completely stopped mentioning morality. All she ever says is that her son cheating means her son is capable. If I can't keep her son in line, then it's all my own fault. How amusing it is to see her jumping up in fear like this now. I turned to look at my husband and reached for his leg. "I just want to ask, how exactly did you break that leg?" My husband's eyes darted away. "Why are you asking this? It's been so long. Didn't I say I was hit by a car?" "Hit by a car." I tilted my head. "Then where's the person who hit you? And where exactly did it happen?" In fact, I had already asked him about these issues when he injured his leg. At the time, I was both heartbroken and angry, and I wanted nothing more than to find the culprit right away and run over his leg twice. But my husband kept saying it was no big deal, not a serious injury at all. He also said the culprit had a hard, too, and asked why I was being so petty and needlessly nitpicky. After a few buckets of cold water were poured on me, I couldn't even be bothered to deal with this anymore. It was only some hidden truth I discovered after the divorce. My husband couldn't answer and turned to my mother-in-law for help, just as he had done countless times before with me. My mother-in-law caught his look and immediately panicked. "Why are you asking about this? It's all in the past. Why bring up old scores? Now it's your responsibility, and you can't run from it." I ignored her, my eyes fixed on my husband. "You were hit by a car. Did you call the police?" He avoided my gaze. "No. Why not? I was in a lot of pain at the time, and I didn't think that much." "What about the driver who caused the accident? You should at least remember the license plate." "Right." He fell silent. His mother-in-law cut in from the side. "He's already injured this badly, and you're still interrogating him. Do you even have a heart?" My husband's face kept getting paler, and it wasn't all because of the pain. "Honey," I moved a little closer, my voice softening. "Tell me who hit you. I'll go find him, make him pay, and have him go to jail. You've suffered so much. You can't just let it go." His Adam's apple bobbed up and down. I smiled a little. I knew the answer. After the divorce, I accidentally heard Shirao Jun while drunk. Let it slip that my ex-husband's leg wasn't injured in a car accident at all. It was broken when he fought with someone at a construction site and fell. The reason for the fight was also disgraceful. He had been having an affair with another man's wife, and when her husband led people to corner him, he panicked and jumped from the second floor. After the fall, he didn't dare tell the truth and kept to the same story to outsiders. He was hit by a car, and the driver fled the scene. How dignified. It perfectly fits the image he presents in front of everyone. Honest, beautiful, family-oriented, treated unfairly by fate, and with a wife who is also unkind to him. "I got the Callan made to you." "Oh, actually, no. I only learned that name after my divorce." But he suddenly looked up, his face full of surprise. Anyone could tell that he had a problem. Only later did I learn that while his leg was fractured, he still often took advantage of the times when I was at work to go meet his mistress. Perhaps that was the real reason he ended up with a limp, but he shifted all the blame onto me, using that excuse to suppress me before the divorce and after the divorce, using it as an excuse for his cheating. What a pity. What a pity. I should have had my legs ruined earlier in this life. "What do you mean by that?" my mother-in-law asked sharply, sensing something was off. But I didn't keep arguing with them. After I got home, I first put away the property deed, passbook, bank card, and other valuable things. In my past life, I left with nothing, not even a change of clothes. In this life, I have to learn to be a bit smarter. When he was in surgery, I was the one keeping his phone. Although I had never gone through his phone before, he was still very security conscious. He deleted the chat records cleanly, and there wasn't even anything unusual in the payment records, but it still falls a little short. I turned on the computer in his study and restored the bills and chat records from the web version, taking screenshots one by one. During that time, he kept calling me, but I didn't answer any of them. After taking the screenshots, I called a car and carrying my big bags, headed to my sister's place. When I was leaving the residential complex, I saw my mother-in-law get off a bus, drenched in sweat, and run home. The divorce proceedings did not go smoothly, but it didn't matter. I had plenty of time to argue with them. All the family assets were in my hands, even the money on my husband's phone. I transferred to my own phone when he was undergoing surgery. He still uses his mother's money for all his food and clothes now. He threatened to call the police on me. I said, "Why are you so stingy? You're being way too petty." On the other end of the phone, he was huffing and puffing in anger. Later, they resorted to using elder intimidation tactics. They sent the older relatives in the family to come and curse me in turns. They said cheating was no big deal and that I should give the man another chance. I said everything you said was right, but my husband broke his leg. So, please lend us some money for treatment. They just ran off directly. After several weeks of back and forth, my husband ultimately couldn't keep up with it anymore and agreed to the divorce. I heard that now he can't even use a cane and can only sit in a wheelchair. When he was discharged from the hospital, my mother-in-law suggested taking the bus back. He got so angry that he had several arguments with his mother-in-law, and after coming back, he called Shirao June every day demanding the car. Once I ran into Shirao June, and Shirao June was still complaining to me that after coming back from sweeping the grave, his cousin was like a completely different person when he used to be so generous. I said, yeah. Later, I heard that he had gotten together with his mistress. He even called me to say that the mistress was very kind and didn't mind him at all, completely unlike a cold-blooded person like me. I said, is your leg better now? Have your ancestors blessed you? He hung up the phone right away, but not long after, I heard that the mistress had run off with all the money. He was so angry that he smashed all the ancestral tablets at home. He cursed the ancestors as useless things who only knew how to take offerings, saying that if it hadn't been for going to sweep their graves, how would he have ended up with a broken leg? Fortunately, his leg was beyond healing. Otherwise, wouldn't he have gone to dig up graves? But none of this had anything to do with me anymore.